Hi, I'm Matt from Tubby Tarot. We are going to take you through a little walk in my local cemetery. Americans call them cemeteries, but here in South Africa we call them graveyards because it's basically a yard full of graves. So come with me, I'm going to show you some modern stuff and then I'm going to take you further down into the valley and we're going to look at some really old tombstones. Our graveyard is on a really steep piece of land. It's like a giant hill and it's just outside of our city centre. Look at that view and you can see all the actual graves are on a slope going right down, and we're going to take you, I'm going to take you down to the very bottom where the old graves are. This is pretty new. This area is pretty new. This is from like the 1960s and 1980s, so it's a very new area, if you call that new, but this is pretty radically kind of reshaped and redone. A lot of the tombstones have been taken up and a lot of the tombstones have been replaced. So to us, this is a very new area. This is a very interesting section of our graveyard because it's a lot of soldiers from the First and Second World War, and I'm going to walk you through it a little bit. If we can have a look, this is the beautiful sort of monument to these fallen men, and then of course we have this. I'm going to take you up closer to a couple of the tombstones because I really want you to see what is happening. We have South African people buried here. We have Australian people buried here. People who, all these people were soldiers in the First and Second World War. So you've got Muriel Elsie Morris. Okay, she was a corporal, and she was buried here on the 4th of February 1943. So that was the Second World War. And then if we go around to the other side, this person was a cook. Okay, this person, E. Page. They were a cook in 1941 during the Second World War, and they were on a ship, the HMS Afrikaner, and that obviously went down. That's 1941. So these are actually all Second World War graves. I think the First World War graves are further up and down the bottom, which we are going to take you to. So these are all Second World War graves, and I think these are all sailors. This is the actual the sailors section where all the sailors went down in ships during the Second World War, and they are all buried here. And this area is actually looked after by the the South African Navy. With help from other sort of naval places in the world, Australia, England, even America, because a lot of your people came to help South Africa in the Second World War. So you came here, got on the ships here, and all went out to actually fight in the Second World War on the sea. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm taking you down into the sort of valley area, and we're going to have a look at the South African infantry guys' graves. Okay, this is all South African army graves. So come with me, let's go and have a look. You can see that there are a lot of them. Now, I must just point out to you that the actual dead people are not here. This is not where they are buried. This is a memorial to these people. So each one of these is not a corpse. I know that sounds a bit morbid, but it's true. This is a memorial, so there is nothing underground. It's just the tombstones. Come have a look. You can see that this is very well planned right here. And if we turn, we might catch the sun, but if you turn up, you can see just how amazing all of these stones and the way this is set out. It's really beautiful. And then of course if you turn this around completely, you'll see that all of that your eye can see right up to the top of the hill, that's part of our cemetery. That's our big cemetery. You can see it kind of runs down into a valley. Right, come with me and let's have a look at the actual memorial. Come on. We've arrived at the actual memorial site, and it's very, very simple. It's very plain. If we can have a look at this, it's literally just a granite slab with "Their name liveth forevermore." And these are all officers and soldiers who died in South Africa and were cremated here between 1939 and 1945, during that period. And it wasn't only South Africans, okay? As I said to you earlier, Australians, British. Don't forget, in those days, South Africa was a British colony. We had people from as far away as Tasmania come here and actually fight with the South Africans during this war. These are all the people that are represented here with the tombstones you've just seen. We have Royal Army Medical Corps. We have the South African Artillery. We have Lieutenant Mrs. Anna S. Christensen. She was a Women's Auxiliary Army Service person. The South African Intelligence Corporation, Captain Crofts. There's somebody from our Signals Department. There was Sergeant Dutoy. Okay, and so it goes on. You can see all of these people, and you can see the dates. Okay, those are the dates that they died. We've come right down into the valley now. I want to show you some really, really, really old graves. Okay. And these graves are all Navy graves. These were all sailors and from the Merchant Navy, okay? And the missions to seamen in Durban actually look after this area. The very first thing I want to show you down here, oh, sorry, they're flies. The first thing I want to show you down here at the naval graves is this. This is Albert Corpse, ladies and gentlemen, and he died on the 23rd of May 1945, and he was 46 years old, so he had a good life, you know. But I just wanted to show you that here lies the corpse of Albert Corpse. Okay, we have looked at all the beautiful, well done military graves here in Durban, in the cemetery, in the graveyard. And now I want to take you on the most fantastic part. What I'm going to start off with is not a massively old grave, but this is a very interesting one because this is in memory of Elizabeth. She was Elizabeth Curry, and she died in 1927. Okay, so that was a pretty long time ago. And her husband Alexander Curry died in 1939, and he was 86 years old when he died in 1939. So these people lived a long, long time ago in a world that is completely alien to us. And just look at this beautiful tombstone that has been here for many, many, many years. It even has this beautiful lichen growing all over it. All this stuff is lichen, it's not bird poop, by the way. Here we are in the oldest part of the cemetery, and it dates back to the early to mid 1920s. And as you can see, a lot of these gravestones and statues are incredibly old. You can see the lichen, again, this stuff that looks like bird poop, it's all over the show, okay? And beautiful angels and all that kind of stuff erected here in the 1920s. But I want to also show you something else. Please excuse the birds, there are birds everywhere. I want to show you something else. If we can maybe pan down and have a look at, you can see, in fact, right behind me here, there's what looks like a brand new grave. And it is a brand new grave, but it's actually a grave that has been repurposed by the family. So they've got great granny and great grandpa from the 1920s, then they've got granny and grandpa from maybe the 1950s, and then in the 1970s they had mom and dad. And they're all inside there, but what they do is every time they bury someone, they either replace the headstone or they add to it. So although these graves look brand new, the tombstone looks new, the grave itself is probably dating from the early 1920s. Guys, thank you so much for joining me in a little tour, tiny tour of our biggest cemetery in my hometown, Durban. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope it's been interesting for you guys. If you want me to take you to an even older cemetery at some stage along the line, let me know below in the comments, and we can visit a cemetery that is a little bit further away from here, but it was the very first cemetery in Durban. I'm Matt from Tubby Tarot saying, I'll see you 6 feet underground.